Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another episode of Sound on Sports. My name is Brody. I'm here as always, my beloved co-host, Lil Fatty, and J Ross, who was supposed to be here and honestly has nothing planned. He literally has nothing planned. He just didn't
Couldn't
want to
be
show up.
bothered to record. Said, let's take a week off, and then couldn't record. So, yeah,
Yeah,
I know
let's
you
take a
missed
week
your
off.
guys' Sound on Sports yesterday or last week, but here we are. We're back.
We're back. We're ready to go. We got a lot to talk about. Obviously, the Sounders just kicking off their season. Got the Mariners spring training, WBC. We got some Kraken stuff. We got some Seahawks stuff. We'll get into all of that. But before anything, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys are liking the content, please throw a thumbs up on the video. Subscribe if you guys have not already. And let's
Absolutely.
get
And comment what you think we should do. Comment things that you think you would enjoy watching, topics that you want discussed on the show. We just really pull from major storylines throughout the season. But if you have any cool ideas that you want to see on the show, feel free to comment, share, and all that cool stuff. But we appreciate. All right, so as the beginning of the MLS season continues, the Sounders got a great win on the road against St. Louis. Brody, break it down for us. What do we need to know, and what do we need to know going forward?
Yeah, so obviously the Sounders go on the road against St. Louis, pick up that 1-0 away win. Sounders, I think all time against St. Louis because obviously they're a relatively new franchise. I think either 5 or 6 wins now, and one tie and 0 losses. So it's a game that you expected to win. You go when you play St. Louis, you always expect to win. They're not a great team. They lost their starting striker in the offseason. Obviously, the game, if you watched it, it was really it was a snooze fest. I gotta be honest with you, man. It was a pretty brutal watch. First thing we want to talk about here is obviously a key injury to our starting center back, Yamar Gomez Andrade. Yamar comes down early in the game with what looked to be some sort of leg muscle injury, I believe. And obviously, Yamar's like what 33 now, so that's like what would be a 3 to 4 week injury is probably more like a 6 week injury now. The Sounders are already thin at the center back position because obviously Kim Ki-hee, who was still injured from last season, is like still starting to come back and actually had a setback in training. It looks like, and then the young Stuart Hawkins is also not practicing or healthy at all. We lost John Bell in free agency, so really it's like Jackson Reagan, and then hopefully when Kim Ki-hee comes back, and then it's Alex Roldan, who's obviously primarily a right back, going to have to play center back for this team, and that was the change that was made. Obviously, we did keep the clean sheet, but it's not something that you necessarily want to rely on putting your outside back at center back. But nonetheless, Kalani Kosorayensi comes on for Yamar, and he ends up being the difference in this game. A fantastic finish off of a St. Louis giveaway inside the box, right to Jesus Ferreira, picks out that first time pass, gets it right to Kalani, composed on the weak foot, buries it. And I mean, honestly, that's really all that happened. And a couple of things I want to talk about also. Paul Rothrock obviously plays the majority of the game last game against Salt Lake, and then picks up an injury. I think it was during the game or training, but I'm pretty sure it was during the game last week. Picks up a foot injury. I don't know how severe that's going to be. I think it's supposed to just keep him out. I think the last game, maybe this coming up week, but it's nothing long term. I just wanted to note that considering we have everybody injured. Basically, our entire attacking force is injured. Then I also want to point out Osaste De Rosario, obviously a player that we highlighted in the season preview as a player who could be a potential breakout candidate. I personally said that if he was starting most of the season, that he could surpass 10 MLS goals. It's only been 3 games, but he does not have a goal yet to his name. And it's been looking pretty rough for the player who we thought was going to have a breakout campaign, obviously being the son of MLS legend Dwayne De Rosario. It's not looking great for him. Even just the fact that he hasn't scored, like his touches haven't been very great. He just hasn't been able to get himself in good positions. And granted, the team's not creating a whole lot of chances for him. But the crappy part about that is whenever he comes on or comes out of the game, Musovski comes on and is just as bad. I mean, obviously, I'm glad he was able to get a chance to score, but completely bottles it from inside the box and then has another chance on that same sequence. Heavy ass touch, loses the ball. It's just not a great. It's just not a great sight to see, considering that Jordan Morris is also injured. It's not looking good. I'm not gonna lie, Carson. I'm a bit worried for edge striker position, and I know we have 6 points through 3 games, and it's a strong start compared to recent seasons. But I'm a little bit worried, man. I'm not gonna lie. This team is kind of losing its depth a little bit due to injuries. Obviously got Jordan
Well,
Morris in the opener.
and let me ask you this, I guess, in terms of just the format of the MLS and their long season, there's injuries that are bound to happen. So when you kind of have this level of injuries depleting your roster and your depth, what can the Sounders do to replenish that? Is there someone that they can call up from the academy, or is it more just kind of scoping out the waiver wire? I mean, what do you suggest moving forward? Just hoping to get healthy and reshuffling guys and roles they might not be 100% comfortable or natural in, or is it going to be adding some quick additions that won't stick around too long?
Yeah, I mean the Sounders have been known to have that like next man up mentality. So going through our Tacoma Defiance team, we've been known to bring up players. I mean, guys like Kalani, who scored the winner in that game, literally came from the Everett Jets, not too probably about 2 years ago. Came from the Everett Jets
That's crazy.
to Ballard to Tacoma, and now he's a key player off the bench for us. So we look to go there, of course, unless a major season-ending injury happens. There's unlikely we can add like a marquee player. Like, for example, at the start of last season, we lost a guy we traded for, Paul Arriola. We lost him to an ACL tear, and he was taking up something called a TAM spot, which is like a player that's not quite a DP, but you can
Right.
you can pay additional dollars to pay them over what's supposed to be the max salary that you can pay a senior squad player. He was holding one of those positions. He tears his ACL, so we're able to have that. What we were able to do there was put him on season-ending IR, which frees up that kind of roster spot,
That
which
makes
was
sense.
valuable, and that's what we used to sign Ryan Kent. Um, Unless something like that happens to one of those guys, it's unlikely we'll add a player that way. But we do also have something called GAM, which is general allocation money. It's basically like it's MLS salary rules are so weird, but it's basically like kind of caps. It's like kind of cap space. It's like supplemental cap space where you can use this money to make in-league trades and stuff like that. So we could make trades using that kind of money, but realistically, anything short term is probably just going to be bringing up a Tacoma Defiance players. To be honest with you,
I like it. I like it. So it's a little bit like baseball. I was just trying to understand as a casual.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you're not going to want to necessarily play your guys out of position for too long, and the injury bug is going to happen. It's a long season, so hopefully these injuries stay on the minor side. But any other, so let me say this. So you said that 6 points through 3 games, above par. In contrast to how the Sounders have been preforming the last couple of years. So, is it cause for concern just on the injury front, or do you think this team is really jiving as we approach the middle of the early season?
I would say the team's definitely not jiving at the moment. I mean, yeah, we won. Of course, it's honestly getting games like these, like where you can have a 0-0 game, a lull game, nothing's really happening, and then you get kind of gifted a chance by a team that's just not very good, and you can steal a win away. Like, it is nice to have those because luck like that, and if we ever pick up form, kind of how we did in like the middle part to the end part of last season, that certainly helps. But I would definitely not say we're a team that's jiving at the moment. I mean, we only had 3 shots on target, less than 40% possession. So we were kind of, not to say we were getting dominated, but it's not like we were controlling the game by any means or being very threatening. And that's what I like to look for more. I like to look for teams that are being like goal dangerous as opposed to just kind of, because you can luck into goals, you can luck into results, but when you're constantly goal dangerous every single game, you're constantly dominating possession, you're constantly controlling the game. Eventually, those results will add up. But if you're like the Sounders right now and you're only having 3 shots on target, 6 total, you're not going to play St. Louis every week. You're going to struggle to really gain a lot of points that way. And I would say the biggest thing for me is injuries because, we haven't made any real changes to last year's team. And last year's team was able to go on a terrific run of like several games unbeaten double-digit games unbeaten. But out of that team, you're taking away Pedro de la Vega, you're taking away Ymar, you're taking away Jordan Morris, just so several guys that are going out there that's severely hurting the team. But I wouldn't say necessarily that I'm worried about the Sounders missing the playoffs. Definitely not yet. It's way too early for that. But you can't really complain 6 points through 3 games as a start. But enough of MLS play. The last thing I want to talk about for the Sounders, and I wish J. Ross could be here to preview this with me, but like I said, he just hates both of us. Doesn't want to be on the channel anymore. It's you can't control that, right? But that's a joke, by the way, for people who don't understand jokes. CONCACAF Champions Cup is coming up. The Seattle Sounders, the only MLS team to win CONCACAF Champions Cup still, I believe. Or at least the first team to ever do it from the MLS. The Sounders play against our rivals, Vancouver, more of a secondary rivalry to the Portland Timbers, obviously. And I'm pretty hyped. I'm pretty stoked about it. But to be honest with you, I'm kind of worried because Vancouver, for the longest time, I don't know how to compare this. No, I actually know exactly how to compare this, Carson, to the Seahawks. The Portland Timbers are our 49ers, and the Vancouver Whitecaps were basically the Arizona Cardinals. Like, you beat them, but it was just more like you kind of felt bad. And, like, if you were to shit talk a Whitecaps fan back in the day, they'd be like, yeah, it's true, eh? It's true. We're garbage, So, like, for the longest time, they were just always the tiniest little bro, and they were kind of just irrelevant. But last season, obviously went on a fantastic run, topped the Western Conference, made a great run in the MLS playoffs, made a great run in CCC last year. Vancouver's legit. And, obviously they bring in last year Thomas Muller, who's a Bayern Munich legend, World Cup winner. Fantastic addition. He's really just the player they needed. First of all, a lot of older guys, when they come to the MLS, are just kind of, half of them actually care. Half of them are like, let's sip pina coladas on the beach. I'm getting millions. I don't have to try. Muller's a dude that genuinely cares, and I think he's really been that piece that can really push the Whitecaps over the hump. And honestly, dude, the Whitecaps are a strong team. They got Brian White, who's, I believe, might be leading the MLS in goals, or at least he's up there right now. Last year had 18 goals in the MLS in like 20-something games. Like, Brian White, started off as like a solid MLS striker. Now he's really starting to become a premier striker in this league, and that's a name you got to watch out for, especially with Ymar going down. You also got Tristan Blackman in their back line, who's a fantastic center back. He's going to be a problem for our struggling strikers as well. It's not a great matchup, but I will say the one thing that you can hang your hat on as a Sounder fan is the fact that the Sounders have just several times been there and done that in tournaments. Sounders know how to win games in tournaments, whether it's the Leagues Cup, whether it's MLS Cup playoffs, or the CONCACAF Champions League. The Sounders are the only team to have won it all. Every single major tournament an American team can win, the Sounders are the only club to have won it all. So we do have that pedigree. We do have a coach that was there for all of that success, and that's the one thing that I'm kind of hanging my hat on, because Lord knows right now, talent-wise, it is not close between us. And I was talking to J. Ross about this last year, where it's like, J. Ross kind of has a soft spot for Vancouver for some reason. And I kept telling him, look, it's cool to see them not be pitiful, I guess, but it gets to a point. There's like a line where it's like, okay, you guys can have a little bit of success just so it makes rivalries interesting. But I draw the line at them winning trophies or beating us in playoffs and CONCACAF Champions League. That's where I draw the line completely. And now it's to a point where Vancouver Whitecaps are legit MLS Cup contenders. They are comfortably better than us. And this is a game that I'm absolutely not taking lightly. I want us to win very, very badly. The 2 legs we have, home and away against Vancouver. Yeah, that's really the only thing I got to say. Obviously, we got the injuries for us. It's not looking good on that end, and I don't think we'll have enough. I mean, we literally play them in like a week or so. So we're not going to have enough time for any of those injuries to heal. De La Vega's still a while away from coming back. So we're going to have to we're hoping for the power of friendship to come through and that's how we're going to have to pull through and make it onto the next round. So.
Well, I mean, like you said, the Sounders have history of locking in when it comes to tournament time, whether it's the MLS Cup or any other tournaments that they can play in. So hopefully, they understand what's at stake here, and they can really, maybe this is the moment that they kind of lock in. It's been kind of a slow start. Guys are getting hurt pretty easily, and then not really jiving. So hopefully, this is the game that gets them right. It's either going to be a humbling loss or a valiant win. So. Yeah, that's going to be a big one, though, for sure.
For sure. But enough about the Seattle Sounders. Speaking of a group of players that are just jiving, but not together this time necessarily, but for separate different countries. We got the Mariners/Mariner players participating in the WBC. Well, Fatty, obviously USA, Dominican Republic, super strong starts. Obviously USA, we want to win. But, we got some guys in the Dominican Republic, eh? So Give us the breakdown here. How's the USA looking? What are the chances? Who's the biggest? I want to know because I'm not familiar much with international baseball. Who would you say are like the biggest? I want to know who are the biggest threats to the U.S. right now because I'm looking at that U.S. roster and just top to bottom, I'm like, man, like who is going to actually compete with this team? It feels like watching if the NFL had any sort of something like this, just watching the USA be stacked and almost everybody else, not even come close.
No, I think the WBC has been really special as baseball continues to be growing popular in America, and just you're kind of seeing a lot of different guys become marketable players. I mean, you have Aaron Judge is the captain of the U.S. You have Juan Soto, you have Shohei Ohtani, you have all these international stars really using this time to represent their countries. I'm really proud of the Mariners organization, top to bottom. They had, they were tied for first in representation. They had about 16, 18 players represent their countries in pool play. And sure, some of their countries did not make the cut. And as of right now, the U.S. is fending off Mexico as we speak. But yeah, I think it's been great. I'm so glad we haven't seen any injuries to anybody. I don't root for any injuries for any team, even Houston or New York or whatnot. But as far as the Mariners' performance in the WBC so far, Julio has had some clutch ABs for the Dominican Republic, which is kind of an eyebrow raiser. He's typically a guy that tends to start slow and really get into his groove toward the middle of the season. So it's nice to see that he's had some meaningful at-bats in that stacked Dominican Republic lineup. Andres Munoz and Randy Arozarena are prominent figures on Mexico, and as of right now, they are undefeated. So it's nice to see them kind of take leadership roles on that team. It's becoming a great country in this tournament. And little side notes. I mean, Dom Canzone absolutely pimping a home run for Team Italy. And being a member of that team that's also on a meteoric rise as well. They're undefeated. And Michael Arroyo giving a flash in the pan for Colombia, although they were relegated. He still had some solid at-bats. And as a prospect, when you're playing against, MLB players, guys that have been in the league for a little bit and still being, pretty productive and keeping up that spring training hot streak, it's really exciting to see. But at the end of the day, obviously our star player, Cal Raleigh, it's been a little bit of a slow start from him behind the plate and at the plate batting. There was some chance when Will Smith was in saying we want Big Dumper, which I love because, I mean, come on, Will Smith compared to Cal Raleigh is just ridiculous. But, he'll get his groove and he's an integral part of the team. But Brody, to answer your question, I mean, I view the Dominican Republic as the largest threat to the United States team. I think they're stacked top to bottom. I think they have the pitching to do this, to make a deep run to the championship. I don't think Japan is as strong this year. I don't think they've played a lot of great competition. I honestly think Mexico will continue to be a thorn in our side like they have been the past couple tournaments. I feel like they're going to, beat out Italy for that second place or even win our pool if, the U.S. can't close it out right now. So I think those are our biggest threats there. There's also it's a great time. It's a very competitive tournament, and I'm really proud of our players for sticking through it and taking the time to represent their countries. So.
Yeah, so just kind of looking forward here, as like you said, hopefully the U.S. can close out here. Was it top of the ninth, bottom of the ninth right now against Mexico? So kind of just give us like for those who don't know, because the WBC, like I said, it's not every single year.
Right.
Um, what is kind of the format, and where do we go from here? So how many more? So are we just like you said, they're not called groups, but they're just basically groups. It's like A,
Right.
B, C, D. So
They
how many of
yeah,
them
they
are
want
there?
to be the World Cup really bad. It's the same
Yeah,
format. So in our pool we had Brazil, and we had Mexico, Italy, and then I believe it was Colombia. I don't quote me on that. It was someone else that just was not even competitive. But their pools of 5. There's 20 countries in it. And as of right now, I mean, the U.S. has played 2.5 games. There's only a max of 7 games. So it's not too much wear and tear on the pitching. There is pitching limits. So it's just kind of like a little league or select tournament. Pitchers have pitch limits. You can only do so much. And that's just to make it, remind people that it is an exhibition, but it does have a trophy at the end. And there's a lot of national pride, especially in the Central American countries. And it's starting to mean a lot for America. Which it did not. The last time America won the WBC was in 2017, and players basically, there was a handful of major leaguers on that roster. They basically had to convince other major league players that, hey, playing in this is cool. Like it's a cool way. It's a great taste break for spring training. So, some players on the U.S. like Tariq Skubal choose just to not play, and that's fine. But don't try to say, oh, I'll be here for the Olympics. Don't half-ass it. Either don't go and we'll respect you, or play in it and you're awesome. So it's either way. I mean, so it's a
yeah,
little annoying.
yeah. And I saw that too, and I just thought that was like frustrating, just from someone who's just watching soccer my whole life. International soccer is a big, important role just in the world of football, and like I just can't even imagine like a player getting called up to what should be a major tournament and just being like, yeah, I'll like kind of I'll show up and like kind of play. I'll play
Yeah.
here and there. I'll go. I'm just gonna take it easy. Like, bro, do that in soccer. Done. I don't care who you are. You do that. Only one person could do that, and that's like Messi. No one
Yeah.
else could do that and get away with it.
It's tough. It is a slippery slope. I understand from both sides, but at the end of the day, I'm just happy everybody's been injury free to an
Yes.
extent. So it's been great. But a couple storylines before we shift over to the Kraken back at camp, because yes, the Mariners are still playing baseball back in Peoria. There have been some injury concerns for Bryce Miller, and obviously it riddled his season last year, limited his starts, cut him in half, and he is still just really struggling to stay healthy from month to month, and it's really affecting his value as he becomes an emerging major league player, earning that free agency value when that comes time. It was a little bit hard. We had to kind of go to court with him for arbitration and things like that, but he's just not healthy, and I'm not sure what it is. I think being reluctant to get season-ending surgery last season did affect his timeline, but now he's basically on an incentive contract to where he's got to push himself. I'm just not sure what's going on with Bryce.
Yeah, frustrating to see, especially because how he looked in the playoffs, especially in that Blue Jays series, how important he was. You would have wanted him to build off of that immediately, and the fact that it's just the injuries are just starting to already pile on, and it's fucking spring. Season hasn't even
Yeah.
started yet. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. I mean, we can't be all too grumpy, I guess, because the dudes so far that are playing in the WBC are healthy, like you said, and it looks like Brian Wu's like, I mean, he rejected even going to the WBC to what it seems like just get himself ready for the season. So
Right.
it's not all doom and gloom, but it definitely sucks for Bryce. You got to feel for him a bit, especially like we were saying, how he closed out um, in that playoff series against the Blue Jays. You just want him to really just start the season hot. But I wanted to touch about real quick just what you said about Julio. Like I think it is really important, especially not only because it's early, but because it's clutch. Like you said, I mean, Julio for some reason, I know, I guess earlier in his career, Julio in the clutch was kind of a meme, but it feels like the more as he grows as a player, it seems like Julio in the clutch is starting to get better and better. So to see it in the
Absolutely.
WBC, really nice to see. And like you said, mentioned that it's early. It's happening early in the season. And
Absolutely.
you love to see it. Love to see that start.
No,
But
absolutely, and I think it's good because honestly, obviously, the Mariners are going to be top three in the American League on paper, and coming into the season, the vibes are there. They want to contend for a World Series, and it's good to have him centered around players of that caliber. I mean, Juan Soto, Vladimir Guerrero, Fernando Tatis, just to name a few. I mean, it's just nice to see him kind of in that competitive mode, because then once we're we're facing off against the Athletics, man, in that first week, all of a sudden we're in WBC mode and we're conditioned to go. So I'm very excited for that. But yep, just to kind of wrap up the camp storylines, Brennan Davis, a shout out, bro. Kind of a failed prospect, bounced around the league a little bit. He's really put a great spring together as the outfielder, leads the Cactus League in home runs. He's hit 5. He's hitting the shit out of the ball. All of his all the times he's made contact, his exit velocity has been over 100. 9 out of the 10 hits he has this spring. It's interesting because I'm like, I really like this guy. But it's kind of tough because he's on a minor league contract. It's not like we have now the wherewithal to be giving him at bats to see, hey, what do we got? But hopefully he keeps it up in Tacoma because that's going to be something interesting to keep an eye on. And last but not least, my Pookie Bear, Cade Anderson, he is an absolute fucking stud.
And dude, I just before you get into your point, like we were talking about Bryce Miller, him, obviously starting off with injuries, but I mean the way that Cade's looking, man, like I'm just saying, dude, if one of our guys goes down at some point in the season,
yeah,
I don't know, dude. I know he's only
it's hard
21 years
because
old,
you don't want him to come up because of injury. You want his path to be whenever Cade feels ready to go. But honestly, a lot of people forget this is not a guy out of high school. This is a guy who pitched leverage innings for LSU to win the national championship last year. So he's more than ready. It's going to be interesting to see if they slot him in Arkansas or in Tacoma, but I feel like it's only a matter of time. And if the Mariners switch to a 6-man rotation, good luck, buddy. Seriously, good luck. And if he replaces somebody in the rotation, so be it. But, oh my God, his stuff in spring has been remarkable. He's a left-hander, so, we don't have any of those in our rotation, by the way. So it's been great to see that. And I'm just so excited. And I cannot believe, we fell in the draft lottery, missing the playoffs by 2 games all the way to number 3. And he was the best prospect in the draft, and he fell right in our laps. So we got
I remember you telling me about that when that happened. You're freaking out. I'm just like, I don't know who Cade Anderson is, but sick. Good for us.
Yeah.
And you mentioned he could even replace someone in the rotation. Luis.
Yeah. Exactly.
I want to talk about that real quick, just to end it off. Like, explain to me, a casual spring training watcher, it's my first season really kind of following it, seeing like Luis Castillo just get absolutely throttled immediately. Is that something that normally happens to like some top pitchers where they get throttled that badly? And like, does that concern you at all?
I mean, to be honest with you, I think spring training is a mixture of this. You're going out there and you're trying to just get a feel for your stuff. So usually you're not throwing at 100%. You're throwing your secondary and third pitches, just to try to get a better feel, maybe try a different grip on your splitter, your changeup or whatever. So sometimes you see pitchers get lit up. I remember distinctly when Ohtani came over from Japan, he got lit up. And there was questions of him starting in the minor leagues as a pitcher, and it was just he's a fraud, whatever. And so no, I mean, I think that I obviously you don't want to get blown up in spring, but there's just times when you're out of rotation, you're only pitching for 3 innings, you can't really get comfortable, you're not really necessarily doing your full routine because you don't want to tax your arm, you're just trying to get warmed up. That being said, I'm not anticipating Luis to come out and be, the ace that he was, 2 or 3 years ago, but I definitely think he's going to be a great 4 or 5 starter. It's just insane to me. The highest paid pitcher on our staff will be our 4th or 5th best pitcher. I personally would slot him 3rd in the rotation behind Gilbert and Brian, and then have him and then Kirby and then Miller, but we'll see what happens. But no, I'm not worried about the 26 run. The spring training games just get out of hand like that. We're pitching in minor league ballparks and in hot weather, and it's whatever. I just shake my head and move on with it. Injury free. See who's hitting well. It's more for the hitters, in my opinion.
Right on. All right, so now we're shifting gears here to the Seattle Kraken, and we're going to try our best. Who? It's easy for them to get lost, and everything that's going on right now, it's easy for them to get lost, but we got to touch on them, even though our main Kraken guy's not here. And he could be here right now talking about the Kraken.
And I'm pretty sure what the Kraken just did is the reason that he is not here, because if you guys have been watching, J. Ross has been very, very, very high on the Kraken, making a splash, making a blockbuster move during the trade deadline. We followed it. It was the main Kraken storyline from tip-off opening night all the way till right now. And unfortunately, they didn't sell like Fatty thought, but it was very underwhelming. And let's get into it. So, as it stands right now, they lost 7-4 to the Senators. They're really slow start coming out of the Olympic break. But there is about 20 games left, and they're right in the middle of the Pacific Division. So they're trying to get one of those wild card spots, trying to get some playoff hockey for their experienced roster. These next couple of games are going to be tough. They're going against some contenders in the Eastern Conference. So it's really going to be, continuing that road dog narrative and pushing through. That being said, I mean, their team identity lately has been, solid defense, but just inconsistent scoring. So it's kind of not what you're wanting if you're pushing for the playoffs. But that being said, they did do a little housekeeping. Jordan Eberle, our second ever captain, was extended yet again. They said, here, go one more for y'all. Here's a 2-year, $11 million extension, $5.5 million AAV, which is, right in the middle relatively in hockey. The highest paid player makes about 10 just before the trade deadline. So it's kind of a mixed reaction. You were kind of hoping maybe one of the young guys would take that captain role and Eberle would kind of ride off into the sunset. But the Kraken are doubling down on their veteran leadership there, giving him an extension. So that's awesome to see. And they also made a splash in the trade deadline. Might not be the flashiest name, but they acquire winger Bobby McMahon from the Toronto Maple Leafs. They sent a 2027 second-round pick and a 2026 fourth-round pick. If you remember, hockey casuals and Kraken fan alike, that they have a lot of draft capital to spend. So what McCann adds is just kind of some size, some physicality, and some middle six scoring depth. Addressing a need, but also creating competition amongst the forwards in the lineup. So expect him in lines 2 or 3. And obviously, it's not exactly what the Kraken were looking for, but I think their sights are set beyond these next 20 games and just how we can build a foundation for the year after and so forth. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the Kraken report that we have. Jaden Schwartz doesn't like playing hockey. He just keeps getting fucking hurt and he doesn't fucking play. And for a casual like me, I hate to bag on injuries, but this guy can't tie his skates without getting hurt. So J. Ross is probably going to watch this back and cuss me out. But Jaden Schwartz, he's been ruled out indefinitely with another upper body injury, which is just not needed at this time. So hopefully the Kraken can get a little bit healthy, go on the road and find some consistent scoring there.
So Kraken right now, I believe sit 4th in the Pacific Division. Sub 20 games, however many games are left. Like you mentioned, a tough stretch of games coming up. I want to hear from you right now, Fatty. No beating around the bush here. Are Kraken making the playoffs? That's what we want to know.
Right. I think they do. I think they have been a team that has been on an absolute roller coaster. But I think they have what it takes to make the playoffs. Now, are we going to make noise? Probably not, because we didn't add what we needed to add at the trade deadline to really push us over and make us competitive. Because if you go ahead and look at, the Midwestern Division, and I know that's not the correct name for it, but if you look at the Colorado Avalanche and the Minnesota Wild, they are leaps and bounds. We are like the NFC South of the NHL, man. I mean, we are just like fighting off mid, and the mid is Connor McDavid. and Draisaitl led Oilers. So it's just kind of crazy. So, but I do think we secure one of those wild card spots, but we will be a first round exit with a bright future, though. I will add, I do think that.
That's good. That's what's important.
We're going to get it together, guys.
Speaking of bright futures, our final topic, our beloved Super Bowl champion, Seattle Seahawks.
Woo!
As we're recording this, it is the first day where real free agency news is coming out. Deals being signed left and right, up, down, from every which direction. And we got to start off with some Seahawks free agency news. Obviously, the biggest one of the day, unfortunately. Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker signs a 3-year, $45-ish million deal to play football for the Kansas City Chiefs. And will be in an offense led by Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. He's being paid to be the full-time back there. And just before we even talk about anything else, Fatty, I got to hear it. How are we feeling about that deal? How are we feeling about losing Kenneth Walker? Because I am devastated.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a gut punch. I didn't realize how quick the NFL free agency was. It kind of took me a little bit because usually the NBA is stretched out over a week. MLB is like months. So like literally it opens 30 minutes later, Chiefs, Kenneth Walker. And it's just like, oh, all the air out of your lungs. Like you knew it was going to happen, but you didn't want it to happen so quick. I was excited to see maybe some Kenneth Walker sweepstakes. Like I was excited maybe, hey, he's day 3 as it's closing. Signs with the who knows. And the delusional part of me was like, you know what? Maybe we have some money to throw to good old Kenneth, but it just did not work out that way.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have money to throw it to him, but we did have money to throw out to 2 other guys, which we'll get to later. But yeah, obviously losing Kenneth Walker, of course, the whole kind of the whole gimmick is, don't pay running backs. Running backs are replaceable. And for the most part, I feel like, this is not too far wrong, but at the same time, like when you have, I think, a high-end talent, which Kenneth Walker, in my opinion, is, and what he proved that he was in the playoffs and the Super Bowl, it's brutal, man. It's brutal losing that, especially when it's the engine to your team. The Seahawks want to be a run-heavy team, bottom 5 in pass attempts last year. Like you want to build your run game around an electric player like Kenneth Walker, even if, what I don't like to see the argument that, Kenneth Walker's not worth the 13, 14 so million that he got paid because he's not a bell cow. Personally, I don't care about that. If Kenneth Walker scores me a few less fantasy points, I'm okay with that. If he barely cracks 1,000, 1,100 yards, I'm okay with that. As long as he's fresh for the playoffs, literally, I'm not going to say carried our offense, but a big reason why we won the Super Bowl. And it's sad to see him go because, most running back contracts you see, those 3 years, something $40, $45 million deals, usually have an out in them somewhere. Whether it's the 3rd year, usually not the 2nd year, but, typically the 3rd year. Like, there's an out. And, how do you have even, let's say we had offered him 3 years, 40, 46, just to get 1 more million. You could literally front load that money and then cut him after the 2nd season of that deal.
But he's got to agree to the front load though. That's the part of it is you have to do the tango there.
No, I mean, of course, yeah, but if he's getting, like, for example, the same amount of guaranteed money, I mean, I feel like, I don't know, or even if he offered the same contract, like, only at worst 1 year of that, let's say you keep him all 3 years, those first 2 years, those JSN, those spoon extensions aren't even hitting. They're still on. They still have 2 more years on their rookie deals. So it just, for me, it felt like, yeah, there's a lot of scenarios in which you don't want to pay running backs, but for a team that just won the Super Bowl, a team that's entire offense is kind of based on that run game, and the fact that now we lack a talent like him, explosiveness like him out of the backfield, to me, it's just like kind of a head scratcher a little bit because I just feel like this is kind of the perfect moment to pay a guy like that. Yeah. And it's not like we're a team that's rebuilding or a team that just like you don't need to spend money at that position. Just kind of a little bit of a head scratcher. But again, John Schneider, it's hard to question him after what he's done throughout his career.
He can't do no wrong.
He can't. Let him cook. Let Johnny Boy cook.
Well, but, to me, what I thought the Seahawks plan was is kind of crazy, setting a hard cap on Kenneth, saying, listen, we're going to do 10 million and not a penny over, is I thought they had their sights set on a free agent running back to maybe, excuse me, have more of a value sign. Tyler Algier, maybe a Rico Dowdle, maybe a Travis Etienne. And that just did not fucking happen. I don't know if we got outbid, but all of them are gone. Rico Dowdle is now a freaking Pittsburgh Steeler as of time of recording.
They are literally all gone. It's
So
you're looking at Joe Mixon coming off a major injury. You're looking at Najee Harris coming off an Achilles injury. You're looking at the best option right now might just be signing Brian Robinson and signing Keaton Mitchell to cheap deals. That really might honestly be the best option when it comes to free agency. Like that's how grim it's looking, man. No, J.K. Dobbins is gone too. Like you said, Rico Dowdle, Travis Etienne. So everybody's gone. And, it's looking grim. The running back's going to have to be a position we address in the draft and address it early. Like I'm talking one of the two top picks that we have. I would ideally not like to reach at pick 32 because really the only first running back to me is Jeremiah Love. And I feel like most people hold that same sentiment. I'm not trying to draft Jonah Coleman at pick 32. I'm not trying to draft Jadarian Price, who I do like, and I would like us to pick him if we were to pick a running back in the draft. I don't want to pick him at 32, but golly, man, it's looking likely that we might have to do that, or more realistically, trade back and pick one at like 40 something,
or
50 something.
just spend a day 2 pick on a running back. But nevertheless, whoever's putting on a Seahawk jersey next to be the running back is going to have to immediately have most of the share. It's going to be interesting. But yeah, let's go ahead and just run down the line and kind of go over some other Seahawks departures that weren't necessarily a surprise. Actually, the first one that I'm going to bring up is a little bit of a surprise just due to the way that he was talking. Kobe Bryant signs with the Chicago Bears, 4 years, 80 million, right? 20 million a year. He was like, yeah, I'm coming back, posting cryptic stuff about John, and bro just dipped. And I'm like, you know what? I was fine with it. I wasn't really impressed with his play. You're talking about a corner that has shifted to a strong safety, and he really just like didn't fill that role. And one of Pete's guys for sure. And it just felt like he phased out, and I was fine letting him walk. It was a little interesting though that he was like doubling back, being like, hey, I'm back. It would have been nice to have him back. I mean, don't get me wrong, on the right deal, but yeah, it was just kind of interesting to see that one.
Yeah, that was. I mean, when I first heard the news that he was re-signing, as if like he actually did. When I first saw it was likely, at least looking that he was going to re-sign, I didn't make sense of it, to be honest with you. Like, if you re-sign him, I feel like that kind of puts you in a tricky situation with Julian Love, like because when those extensions are starting to kick in, you got to extend Jason Spoon, Byron Murphy. You're looking at we paid Kobe Bryant. Julian Love's got to out in his contract. Now that kind of makes it tricky there, and I would much rather have Julian Love over Kobe Bryant. Obviously, got Ty Okada in-house, who was very good in Kobe Bryant's absence. I don't think he made the $20 million a year. It was like something like 15 or so million. I don't know the exact deal, but either way, it just feels more of like a guy that you can live without. It's not like a crucial player that you need to re-sign or extend. And I was fine with that. And to me, the most surprising, not just I knew Boya Mafe was going to leave, but the cheddar that guy got, man. Oh my gosh.
That's market rate. That's market rate.
End up being 3-year, 60 million. But the thing is, I was looking at projections, and they were like a little over 10 mil a year. That's the projections at least I saw from multiple Seahawk beat reporters. Completely wrong, I guess. But it was crazy to see his deal obviously signed with the Bengals. And for that, I really got to say, Boya Mafe, obviously a much more reduced role. He's a dude that can kind of get near that 10 sack mark, but that's only really been in a team where the pass rush was, first year under Mike McDonald, pass rush was solid. It was good. Ended up getting a lot better. And then the second year, obviously elite pass rush. He was able to produce in that environment. Now signing to be the Bengals' top pass rusher, because I believe Trey Hendrickson will probably leave. Yeah. I don't know how he'll fare in that role. I gotta be honest with you. I don't.
Well, I wish him the best. I can't get mad at him for turning down that money. I can't get mad at it. And it was it was a position where I wanted to move on, whether it's more established in the market or younger and more proven. I don't know. It's just like, this is also, I mean, we're looking at projections here. This is Super Bowl tax at its finest. I mean, if we don't win the Super Bowl, bro's not making 20 million. I'm sorry. He's making more toward the 10 that we were talking about. And that's just like, it's kind of Kobe Bryant. Like, Kobe Bryant to me was more of a, more of a 15, 16 mil. All of a sudden he's getting 20. So yeah, it's just kind of crazy.
I want to see what Kobe Bryant's doing at being. It was like, I know it was 3 years, but I don't remember it being like 20 million a year or something like that.
Yeah.
It was 3 years, 40 mil. So that's like what, 13, 14 mil?
It was more of like what it was exactly. We were going to be paying him exactly what Cam Curl got, just rounding up. So, I mean, Cam Curl got 3 for 36. We were going to give him 3 for 40, and that would have been perfect.
I still wouldn't have done.
Yeah. Would have done that. But yeah, it's crazy. We're starting to get the Super Bowl tax. That being said, we did sign somebody. We signed multiple people. And let's start off with the smaller signing. Not saying it's insignificant signing, but just a smaller AAV. The Jackson Jobe is back, and he is destined to be cornerback 2 alongside Devin Witherspoon. It's going to be a 3-year, $24 million deal. John cooked. I think he
Absolutely
is worth that investment. And it's nice to see that kind of materializing. You were curious to see potentially letting Tariq Woolen walk and Jobe walk, maybe drafting a corner at 32. But now it kind of eases my worries a little bit. And I have to say it before we get into this one. I think Marshawn Lattimore is a Seahawk. I think he's going to be a Seahawk day 3. Because, I mean, he's worked with Mike before in Baltimore. And bro was at our parade. I don't know why. He was just like there. He's like, "Hey, Mike, remember me?" So
we're talking about Marshawn Lattimore or Marlon Humphrey.
Sorry,
is Marlon Humphrey a free agent?
I don't know.
No idea.
But I'm thinking Marshawn Lattimore could be a Seahawk, though.
Yeah. I mean, dude, he kind of fits the bill. Big physical Seahawk corner, like, dude, right up our alley for sure. And just to touch more on Kobe Bryant, like, I think this might be one of the sneakiest, like, A+ deals of the offseason. To get a guy like that for $8 million, was a starting corner in a championship defense. He literally snatched Tariq Woolen's chain. Let's not forget that, all right? A dude who's probably going to make double per year, snatched his chain, took his starting job, and, like, basically never looked back.
Yeah.
Fantastic 3-year deal for a guy who just wants to be here and a guy who's a solid starting corner. Like, it was important to bring one of Tariq Woolen or Josh Jobe back, and I preferred Josh Jobe, and that's exactly what we did. And it's just like, as much as it's stung for me to lose Kenneth Walker, I like to see that John's just not going, okay, we won the Super Bowl, everyone get contracts, and let's just use all of our salary cap.
Well,
we're not, which a lot of people want to do. A lot of fans obviously want to keep everybody, but realistically, you're barely going to keep any of them. That's just how it goes. Right. It's a cycle of life in the NFL. But glad to get his deal done. And then the biggest signing for the Seahawks money-wise, Rashid Shaheed re-signs 3 years, $52 million a year. And I've seen a lot of mixed opinions on this deal. And I got a lot to say about it, but I want to hear your opinion first, Fatty. What do you think about that? And first of all, let's talk about, do you think he should have been prioritized over Kenneth Walker? And just overall your thoughts on the deal for Rashid Shaheed.
Well, I don't think that anybody would say to prioritize him over Kenneth Walker. If anything, I think Seahawks
you would honestly be surprised, though. I just want to say, like, there'd be a surprise on what people are saying.
Yeah, but I know. I've seen it. But I don't think anyone in their right mind, sorry, let me revise that, would say that, Kenneth Walker is less valuable than Rashid Shaheed. That being said, he was the first player that I said, okay, I understand you're going to go get that bag. And, you go chase it. Thanks for everything that you did. It was an amazing midseason acquisition by us and a really game changer in the special teams, and just had so many flashes of utilizing him in our offense, but never did. I mean, we had that deep ball in the NFC Championship on that first drive. I'm like, cinema. But Yeah, he's coming back. He's coming back. And to be honest with you, I'm happy to see it. I'm glad we're spending some of our cap space. And I guess, we did give up two day two picks to get him. And, we're going to have a little bit more return on our investment here with that 3-year extension. I'm looking for him to continue to be, a top 3 kick returner. I hope he's a deep threat alongside JSN. I mean, try guarding JSN, the master route runner that he is, and then having your other corner be like, lace him up, buddy, because Rashid's already 10 yards down the field. And then you got Unk in the slot. So it's just like Sam Darnold's going to have a really consistent wide receiver room. Not to mention, Torrey Horton, he's going to be coming back as well. I mean, I hope Torrey Horton doesn't become a meme, but he's going to be pretty good as well. So
for me, I'm a big fan of bringing back Rashid Shaheed, and obviously that $17 million a year, people are kind of like, okay, that's kind of, a lot, especially for him primarily being a kick returner, punt returner for the Seahawks, and that's how most of his big plays happened. But the first thing I want to talk about is that kind of market for a receiver that's $15 to $17 million a year. Like, there's dudes like Darnell Mooney, Khalil Shakir. Like, that's the kind of names you're talking about that are making that kind of money that he just got re-signed to. And there's players like Alec Pierce, who just got a damn near $30 million a year extension, multi-year extension, who is primarily just a deep threat. And he barely cracked 1,000 yards, and it's basically because he's a deep threat. So not only did we pay almost half of that for also an elite deep threat, but we paid that for the best kick returner, punt returner in the game, most touchdowns off of kick returns since entering the league.
And so Clint Kubiak couldn't have him. Take that.
Exactly. You guys are going to take our assistant coaches? Then screw you. But no, you got the best kick returner, punt returner in the league. You got a premier deep threat. You got a dude who can actually just play the wide receiver position in general, just doesn't get used like it. Like, anyone who watched Saints games, they can tell you that. Anyone who just looked on the All-22 Saints, which, first of all, if you're doing that and you're not a Saints fan, like, you're a sicko. So you shouldn't be. You should find something else to do. But I unfortunately did do that when we got him for a decent amount of time.
Certified sicko.
But dude, he's got real stuff. Like, his releases are good. His route running is clean. His hands are pretty solid. Like, he's not a bum that just can run fast. He's a good wide receiver. And for this contract to really pay off, you can only assume investing that sort of money into a guy like that he's really going to get that expanded role. And not to mention just the go balls, the jet sweeps, stuff like that he already does that makes the offense way more dynamic. If you can really add all that stuff, man, like, that's, to me, this could really be like a true value contract. But it could also, again, be like a bit of an overpay. Like, if we're really just going to use him for being a kick returner, like, I know it was a long time ago, but guys like Devin Hester, Hall of Fame kick returners, were only making less than $10 million comfortably. And I know like the money's different, right? But
I think what this contract says is we are going to utilize him as a legitimate WR2. Is he unproven as a wide receiver? Absolutely. He needs way more sample size. He needs more targets. He needs more schemes that are going to get him open instead of just running straight. But I think this contract more than well says, listen, we can't afford to lose him in our wide receiver room. And I'm excited. I would like to see a little bit more return on our investment. Not saying he needs to run back 10 kicks a year. I want to see him catch a couple of touchdowns. I want to see him be a dynamic playmaker in our offense.
Yeah, and then just the last point about that is just like, you got to think about Cooper Kupp. I mean, he's going to be 33 years old by the time
this is Cooper Kupp retirement year.
Dude, he's only got a year or two left. Torrey Horton's not even going to be ready for OTAs. Like, he's badly injured. Like, bro, outside of those two, just JSN and Shaheed, and the rest is kind of a blur. So it's not like we're necessarily deep at wide receiver. It's not like you just sign 2 guys, 3 guys, and then you're like, all right, screw everything else. You need depth, and he's going to be more than depth, you're hoping, for this next season. But the only free agent that's really left that's notable is Tariq Woolen. And I mean, it's kind of been consensus that he's going. It's pretty much consensus that he's leaving. But I will say, man, Kenneth Walker walking and Shaheed staying, kind of not in my thoughts before free agency began. But here we are. So do you think there's any chance that Tariq Woolen is a Seahawk?
Probably not, just because I think that for us to rationalize a Tariq extension, it would have to be a significant drop in price. And to be honest with you, I don't think that we don't need to scam bro. Bro has deserved a contract. I think that a lot of teams swung and missed on the corner market. I mean, Jesus, I think every corner and their mother wants to play for the Los Angeles Rams. So I could see Kansas City being a good fit. I could see Las Vegas being a good fit. Guys that still have a lot of cap money to spend. I think he commands a market. I just don't think the numbers are matching up for him. And there was a little bit more, marquee names with trades going on. So I think that his market's good, but we're not in that market. And putting him long-term on the books probably doesn't help our extensions. So.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we got a nice little hour-long episode. Just us two. No J. Ross. J. Ross, come back, man. Like, what we doing?
J. Ross, please come back. It was us, not you.
Come back. Please.
The Kraken will make the playoffs, bro. Just come back.
I swear, dude. I promise, dude. Paul Rothrock is only hurt for a game, J. Ross. Just come back, please.
Just come back.
All right, but nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys enjoyed the episode, please throw a thumbs up on the video. Comment if you agree with us, if you disagree with us. Write us. Whatever you gotta say. If you think we look
pull out
dumb,
a pen and paper and write us.
Write us. I would love for you to forward this video
via mail
on email to your grandparents if you would like.
Write us off. We ain't writing back though.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I know we're about to sign off. Can we talk about this for 1 to 2 minutes? It is 2026. It is 2026. The Seahawks are Super Bowl champions. Meanwhile, we have Seahawks beat reporters writing about Geno Smith, full articles. What are we doing, man?
Stop. Don't bring Geno into 2026, chat. Please. We're done. We have glazed him enough. We don't need to reminisce about 9-8, and we are done talking about Eugene Smith.
Why are we doing it? He's fucking beefing with Wendy's right now, and we're talking about him. Let's stop. Let's just put it to bed. He was on the Seahawks, and then now he's not. Now we're Super Bowl champions. We're moving on. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, subscribe if you haven't already, and we will see you guys next week.
Woo!